think anything of it.
Looks like your wrist still has some aftermath from that.
It does. I'm still doing physical therapy, and I'm healing more every day. More.
Okay.
That's really good to hear, Trish. Okay, so it looks like it's just going to be the 5 of us right now. So I'm Jillian. I am Trish's assistant. I'm the one that you quite often talk to if you're going to schedule an appointment or a coaching session with Teeniors. And I'm going to be the one teaching the class today. I use the G Suite and Gmail pretty much every day for business, so I've gotten pretty familiar with it. So if you have any questions, feel free to wave or, hey, Jillian, I've got a question, But if you don't have a question, just a little bit of housekeeping, please try and mute yourself. Because it cuts down background noise so we don't hear a lot of shrieking. If you notice that my picture is going really dark, I live in the mountains and we have a bad storm moving in here. So our cloud cover, it looks like nighttime right now.
Oh.
So that's the reason why.
Okay.
So let me share my screen here and we can get going. Okay. All right. So can everybody see my screen here?
Yep, I can.
Okay, good. Okay, so is everybody able to see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, well, the whole topic of this is basically going to be G Suite and the G Drive 101. What can you do with it and how to get started? So for those of you who aren't familiar, G Suite is offered as a part of your free Google account. Many of you may have Gmail and have signed up for that for free. It's a whole collection of different apps and tools, and you can do all sorts of things with it, as we're going to find out, from creating documents and writing to maps, YouTube, storing files, and lots of other different things. As you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, these are just some of the apps that are included with your free Google account. So of course you've got Gmail and search, and you've got G Drive and maps and YouTube and your Google Play Store. For those of you that have Android phones, you're probably very familiar with that. It's like, for those of you who have iPhones or Apple, it's the same as like your Apple App Store. And then these are some of your other apps that are included. You have Photos and you have Blogger. You can actually create a free website, right, with your Gmail account. And you have access to Classroom and Earth, podcasts, etc. So how do you get access to any of these really cool apps? Well, you just have to sign up for a free Google account. If you haven't done so already, you need to go to accounts.google.com or drive.google.com or mail.google.com. And you just create an email address and a password, or a username and a password. If you already have Gmail, you can skip this step. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Gmail. Well, what is it? It's, as I'm sure all of you know, it's a free email service that's developed by Google. Users can access Gmail from the web using third-party programs such as the mail apps on your phone. Now, that's maybe how many of you access it, through your iPhone or your Android phone or your tablet. You can also access it from your computer. So this is obviously your homepage for your Gmail. So let me minimize this. This is just what my Gmail account anyway looks like. You can create all sorts of interesting backdrops. When you get your Gmail, it comes up just as a white or a gray or a blue background. And then you can choose to upload a picture, whatever you want, your family, a favorite place you've been, and that's how you get this. And if you're interested in doing that, you can access it through this little gear symbol that's on the top of your screen.
Sorry, where is it?
You'll see where my cursor is in the top right
okay.
of your screen where I'm circling.
Okay.
There's a little gear symbol that's up there.
Uh-huh.
And you can click on that and it says themes underneath. And you can hit view all. And then it comes up with all these different pictures. These are just stock photos provided by Google. They hunted the web for all of these. And obviously, as you can see, I have a forest scene. So, but you can pick whatever you want. You can also click my photos on the bottom and then upload a picture.
Can we ask questions now?
Yes.
Okay, well, my display looks very different from that one. What I see on your screen, on what you're showing here is the backdrop or the picture in the background. My Gmail screen is much narrower, and the part that looks on this screen on the left where it says inbox, started and all that, that's part of my white field, the main field, and it takes up a lot of space. So how is that customization a lot? Would that allow me to make it like this one that you're showing, where the Gmail screen is much wider?
Well, some of this may also be because I'm working on a Mac, and I don't know if you have a Mac or a PC that you're working on, and they're a little different how things display from one to the other.
Okay.
You can make your screen bigger if it's like in a small window. You can expand it by dragging the page to a larger size. This is just the way my screen came out. Your sidebar will show up as white because your backdrop is no doubt white. If you have your theme as your background is like gray or white, this is just included in that, the sidebar that has inbox and starred. However, like you said, you can get into customization, and you can see on the top under, when I hit that gear symbol, the top right of my screen, there's that gear symbol. And under the top thing you should see, it says density. And you have default, comfortable, and compact. And you have inbox type underneath, default, important first, unread first, starred, priority. You can change how your inbox looks depending on which one you have clicked. I have everything under the default because it was just easiest for me. I didn't have to think about it. But you can make it look different depending on what you choose.
Okay.
So any of these ones here, like I have it under default, but if I were to choose compact, do you see how everything comes out suddenly much narrower and tighter on my main screen? And if I do comfortable, it comes out even wider than I normally would have it. So those things just change a little bit how your screen is going to look.
Oh, okay.
And you can also change like how you want to see when you read something. You can, I have it not split up at all, but you can choose to have a reading pane at the right side of your inbox. Meaning, if you engage that, which is this one here, if I do that, let me just reload it a second. Do you see how suddenly I will get into one of my emails? It brings up the email on the right side of my screen and makes this part, which is my main inbox, very narrow. So
Okay.
you can change, obviously, how you see things based on what you get into.
So if you start experimenting and find out you're kind of lost, you can always go back to default.
You can always go back to default. Exactly. And if you go back to default, it will set it back to the way it was.
Okay.
So there's really no wrong way. As long as you don't delete something, there's really no wrong way of approaching this. So this is basically just your quick settings here under that gear symbol. You can also see all settings, and then that gets a lot more advanced, as you can see. You can change your text if you need it larger or smaller, or you like a certain font. Some people are really big on using certain fonts. And you can change like how many emails show up per page, things like that. If you
And
want a
you-
spell checker, what language your inbox shows up in. If you speak another language that you're more comfortable in, you can have that show up.
And how did you access that again?
I access this through that gear symbol that I showed you guys in the
Same
top of your
symbol,
screen
okay.
up here.
Okay, same symbol.
So let me go back to my inbox. So you click on this gear symbol in the top right, and then you click see all settings,
Oh,
which
okay.
should be the top of it. And then that gets you into the more advanced settings, and you can change just about everything about your account from there, how you interact with it.
Okay.
Okay, so then the other thing, under your Gmail, you obviously have your inbox, you have starred, which are any of these things that I've chosen to highlight. Your basic Gmail comes with colored stars. So they're like flags. You can sort your messages based on priority, which for most people is red, probably, not as important, maybe yellow, what have you. And you do that just by clicking on the little star that you see next to each email. There should be a little star there. And if you click on that star multiple times, it will change the color. So any of those show up under starred. You can, if all you want to see, like you have important messages, you can just click that. If you have snoozed, you can decide under each one of these, like if I hover over this email, you see where my cursor is in the top?
Mm-hmm.
On the far right of that email, there is a little clock symbol that says snooze, meaning that email will not show up at the top of my list. If I don't want to see it right now, it will show up later instead. It's another way of categorizing your messages.
Okay.
So obviously you have sent and you have drafts. So anything that you've written and haven't sent yet shows up under drafts. And from there, you can create different files. You can, as you can see, I have come up with lots of different ones for whatever I need to do. And then underneath, if I hit more, you go down to the bottom of your folders, there's a little tab here that says more with an arrow next to it. If you click on that, you keep scrolling down, that is where you're going to find spam. Because a lot of people say, well, somebody was supposed to send me a message and I never got it. Well, chances are it may have ended up in your spam folder. So your spam folder, it's kind of a little bit complicated how you get to that. You have to click on more and then you see spam. That's also where you'll find your trash and where you'll find all mail. So
Can you move it up? Can you move it up so that it might appear like third or fourth?
you probably could. I haven't actually tried it myself, but I bet you probably could. Let's see here. Yeah, you can. And what I'm trying to see is, let's see. We moved it up and now it has decided to hide itself. That is the danger. If you move a file and you hover over, let's say, a particular label and you drop it, it will go into that file. It doesn't just like go back to where you started. It will go into a place that maybe you didn't want it to be in.
Okay.
So that is the danger with moving a file and you don't know where you put it.
So it's
So
really
anyway.
just dropping it into another file rather than relocating it.
Exactly. So that can be some of the problem. So if you want to create a new file, you again have to hit that tab that said more at the bottom of your column here.
Mhm.
And at the bottom of that, it says create new label. And so if I do that and it says, I'll just do here, Teeniors online class test. So if I do create, and then if we did it right, it shows up here because I have everything categorized under Teeniors. So if you have it under T, it shows up. And so now anything, any emails that I get that would be applicable to this, I can put into that folder. And how you do that is you highlight an email, and then you go to this little file on the top here. If you can see my moving cursor, has a funny little arrow on it, and it says move to. And you can type in just Teeniors is what I put in. And now you see your folder, online class test. And if I were to click on that, it would move this email to that folder. So that's the easiest way of categorizing things. Any other questions so far to do with Gmail or moving emails or anything else?
Well, I don't know if this is too soon, but when I try to print up my contact list, I go to the upper right part and it brings up the Google Suite or whatever it is and contact.
Right.
And when I do the print preview, all I see is one page and it doesn't even have the email accounts. So I can't really print anything. Is there a way of printing contacts out that I don't, that I don't?
Well, let me see here. I do not have contacts set up for this account, so it's probably not going to show up here the way it would show up for you. But the only thing that I know of is that you can actually click print on that column on your left-hand side of the screen. And then it should show up whatever information you have for each contact. So if I create a contact, let's just say here, Teeniors. Okay. And here, I imported the phone number and we're going to put in. Okay, so we'll hit save. And okay, so this is my one contact now that I have in here. So if I were to click print from there, let's just see what we get popping up here. All I get here is teeniors@gmail and their phone number. It does show me Teeniors, it shows me teeniors@gmail, and it shows me their phone number. So if I had, let's say, 10 contacts, each one would show up underneath the other, should, with the name, the email, and the phone number. So they'll only print whatever contact information you have associated with that name. So if you have, John Smith, and you only have his phone number, all it will show is his phone number. If you have his email, it should print his email as well.
Well, suppose I have like 30 contacts, but I want to print 10 of them. Will there be check boxes that I can check off and then hit print?
Yes, you
Oh,
see right here, if I hover over, there's that little Teenior symbol, but if I hover over that, there's a little checkbox here.
Yeah.
And so if you have, let's say, 50 contacts and you only want to print 5, you can check 5 of them and then click print, and those 5 should show up.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Sure thing. Okay, Nancy, I think you had a question. You want to unmute yourself, Nancy?
Okay, so I'm on my iPad and I see you in the corner in the screen, but I can't, how do I get to my like Gmail? Can I do that while you're talking and it won't cut me off and stuff? I
Yeah.
don't even know how to do that.
Basically, what you need to do is you have to minimize your screen. And I believe you can do that by just, let me see here, because I'm obviously on a computer itself. There should be a way on the top of your screen where you can make it smaller, or you can share your screen. Is there a way that you can share your screen with the rest of your computer?
Oh, yeah, it says share screen. Well, I'm not on my computer. I
Well, I
just
mean,
have
on your
my,
tablet.
yeah, and then it says only the host can share in this meeting.
Okay, all right, so then it's that.
So,
You should
I
be
mean, I
able-
couldn't even find the little gear thing, but when I check out, I could do that, right? And try to find all
Yes.
this on mine. That's
You
what I'm
should be
trying
able
to
to
do. so.
minimize your screen, and then you can see what we're seeing. You should be able
I
to
don't-
do both.
How do I minimize it? There's on the little box where you are, there's a plus and a minus. Does that mean minimize?
Try that one.
Wouldn't you be able to like tile your screen? You know,
Mhm.
like do a split screen where it's side by
Well,
side?
it's a little bit different on an iPad or an Android tablet than it is on a computer. It's a good question, though. But
Well,
things
see,
come out a little bit
I'm
different.
very behind, but just keep going how you are and I'm writing and then I'll try it afterwards because it's like, I don't know how to do this. But that's okay. So thank you. We'll just keep going.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Any of the other people here who are muted, or Ted, do you have any questions you want to ask?
I have a question concerning my pictures.
Uh-huh.
Google's not gonna, they're gonna only give you so much space to store your pictures. So right now, pictures I have, I want to store them on my computer and on my SD card on my phone, but I don't know how to do that. Right now they're all in the cloud, I assume.
Okay.
So is that something that we can cover on this class, or is that something
Well,
later
let's
on?
see. Let's see how much time that we have left once we've gotten to some of the other basics, because and then we'll see what time we have left to cover it.
I think
So
that-
I know Google has made some changes when it comes to Google Photos, not linking it so easily with your Gmail account like they used to. So
I think that's a good question because I've tried many times to take a picture that was sent through Gmail and put it into one of my photo files where I like to save pictures that I can paint someday. And I don't know how to do that. It doesn't seem to happen.
well, are you trying to save them to your computer, or are you trying to save them to your Google Photos?
To the computer.
Okay, because if you save them to your computer, I'm trying to think of a good way of showing this because I do not have any pictures in an email, but I can get into my Google Photos here. You access, for those of you who may not be so familiar with Google Photos, you again go up to those 9 little dots that are in the top right of your screen, that little square box. You click on that, and then you scroll down until you see it looks like a pinwheel and it says Photos underneath it. So those are your Google Photos. At least these are my Google Photos. So if I were to, let's see, click on this, I just clicked on one of those pictures to make it bigger. And then you have all of these different options that come up. So I can share it, I can edit it, make it bigger, get the info about it, favorite it, delete it. And then there's more options. Okay, you see those 3 little dots here. And I think it's that way with, if a picture is in your email, I'm pretty sure it works the same. You have to make it bigger, and then you should see 3 little dots that are on the far right side that are more options. And you click on that and it says download. And that will allow you to download it to your computer. You can also download most images by right-clicking it, and it should say save picture as. It usually works that way on a Mac or a PC. You can right-click it, and then it will say save picture as or save image as, depending on how you're approaching it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've tried that. I must be doing a little, I'm making an error somewhere along the way. So.
Well, I would
But
think if
you're saying that if I have a picture in an email and I'm able to save it to the Google Photos without any problem?
even if you don't save it to the Google Photos, even if, like, let's say this is an email and somebody sent me all of these pictures.
Uh,
If I click on one of them, you should be able to do that from your emails. Like somebody sends you a picture and you say, I want to see it bigger because it's like the size of a postage stamp.
right.
So if I click on that, you should be able to see, obviously you have the ability to find out more about it and you can edit it and do whatever. You can put it into Google Photos, but then you should see those three little dots. And those three little dots from your email will usually say, move to Google Photos, move to Google Drive, download. And in this case, because it's already in Google Photos, it just gives me the option to download.
Oh, okay. I'll have to experiment with that.
And you can, from there, if you have it in your Google Photos, you can even order canvas prints and do all sorts of things with them. So,
Thanks.
okay. Any other, you had a specific question you said about Ted, about running out of storage in your Google Photos?
Yes. You know, I think there's till June that you can move your photos.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of my concerns. But now that you showed him that, I can download copies of that to my computer.
Yeah, you can download copies. The other thing you need to know, and that was going to be the next thing we're going to get to. Let me go back here to the main email and pull up our slides again. Okay, so the next thing we were going to talk about is Google Drive. And as you're going to find out, with your free Google account, I believe you're given up to 15 gigabytes of storage. And it's only when you run out of that that they're going to start charging you for things. All that Google has done, quite honestly, is they have moved your Google Photos so they're not automatically attached to your Google account. I think it's going to be by June or something like that. That's, I think, what you're talking about. It's not that they're going to automatically delete them. The only way they would do that is if you have not accessed your Google account in 2 years. So they've been putting out a message to everybody saying, if you have not accessed your Google Drive or your Google Docs or your Google account in 2 years or more, we may delete all of your information. So otherwise, you should be okay. Any other questions before we keep going here?
No.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Google Drive. And that kind of ties in a little bit to what you guys were talking about too. Google Drive is included with your free email, your free G Suite account. It is this symbol is where you'll find it. It may be different colors for some people, depending on which version of Google you have. It could be rainbow colors or other different colors. But this, it always looks like this funny triangle. It is your cloud service. That's, I think, what you were talking about, Ted. It allows you to store and sync all of your files for easy backup and access to multiple devices. So if you have your app for Google Drive downloaded to your phone or to your tablet, you can access it from anywhere. All you need to do is sign into your account. You can also do it from the internet. If you use a public library computer or public access computer, you could even access it from that. So you can even share files with other people. We do this a lot at Teeniors. It's easy to collaborate where you can create a file, a spreadsheet, and then share it with lots of people all through Google Drive. So Google Drive, at least for me, as we'll see in a minute, this is what it looks like. So this is your Google Drive homepage, at least if you have some files set up. So if you have a lot of picture files, your picture files may show up here. Where I have document files, you may have picture files or other things. If you don't have your files or your pictures or your music or whatever you have in a folder, it will show up down here. Like I have these test pieces. You'll just see them floating loose. And then if you say, okay, I do want to move these into a file, you can drag this and you can move it over your file. That's probably the easiest way to do it. You can also right click it and move to. And if I hit move to, and it will come up, well, where do you want to move it to? And it will come up with all my folders that are in my drive, and you'll see freelance written articles, which is where I'd want to move it to. So they always give you options for how you can do things. There's always several ways of doing it. So to create, obviously you have the same panel here like you have in your email. That's the cool thing about Google. You have the same panel in your email, in your Drive, and in several other different apps. You have starred, you have trash, you have recent. If you want to create a new file, you click on new, which is in the top, and it will say, do you want to create a new folder? Do you want to upload a file? Do you want to upload a folder? So file would be like an individual song or an individual set of pictures, document, whatever. A folder would be something on your computer that houses all of it. You can also go straight to Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, etc. So if I want to create a folder and I say here, then it comes up with, what do you want to call it? Well, let's just say online class test. You hit create, and now suddenly you have a new folder that says online class test, and I can do what I did before. I can drag and drop one of these articles over it, or I can right click the article and hit move to, and then find it from here, online class test. Does that make sense? Any questions to do with Google Drive?
That trash bin in the Google Drive, is that the same trash bin as your where you have your email?
No, sadly, I wish it was. These are two different setups. This is if you uploaded multiple copies of something to your G drive and you decide you don't want it, or you just don't like a particular file, or it's a blurry photo or whatever. If you hit trash, this is where it's going to end up, but it's not the same as your Google trash. I wish it was your same as your Gmail. It would make things a lot simpler. So, any questions about that? If you accidentally moved something to trash, just to note that, and you say, gee, I didn't mean to do that, you can right click on it and it comes up with restore, and then it will show up again in your Google Drive. Or you can also choose to delete it forever. So same works with your Gmail. If you accidentally said, man, I didn't mean to trash that, it was a slip of the hand, happens to all of us, you can click on each one. Like if I go here and I go down to more, you'll find your trash under more. If I click on trash here and I say, wow, I didn't want to delete these, and I click on this, and it comes up here with, you can either delete it forever or move to, and I can move it back to my inbox. So the only thing you got to know is if you deleted something 30 days ago, they clear out your trash every 30 days. So you have to keep on top of what you deleted when, otherwise you'll lose it. So, okay, any other questions to do with Google Drive? How you store things or uploading folders.
No.
You said they delete it every 30 days. So are you saying like at the end of the month, they'll delete the stuff or after it's been in that bin for 30 days?
After it's been in the bin for 30 days, they'll delete your trash every 30 days. If you don't clear it yourself or, you know, restore things, they'll delete it every 30 days. So it's just an automatic feature that Google does probably to try and make things a little more streamlined. So everything making sense so far? I hope I'm not overloading you guys with information here.
You're doing a good job.
I know this gets a little bit dry after a while, so. Okay, let me get back to. So we just went over Google Drive. So Google Docs is the next most common app that most people would use. It comes with your Google Suite, just like everything else. It's a free version of like Word. And it has most of the same features like Word. You can edit files and even do some pretty complex features with it. You can share your document. A lot of writers really love it, myself included, because you can share one document with multiple people. And if you have critique partners, they can all give you their comments in the document without destroying the document.
How is that different from just sending it to them?
Well, it is, because if you just send a document to somebody and you say, well, I really want your thoughts on this, but they end up sending it back to you and they've completely rewritten it, it's really tough for you to undo it. Whereas in this,
Okay.
what you will see is, let me get into Google Docs here. You find it again under those 9 little dots in the top of your screen. You go down to Google Docs. So if I get into, let's see, if I get into a particular document here, and it says on the top of my screen, you have all these different things. You have the title, what format it's in, you have your file, your edits, and all the different, what type of text. So what font you're using, what size, if it's bolded, italic, what have you. Left align, center. So here on the right-hand side of the screen, you see that little pen symbol? That's your editing mode. So if I click on that, you can choose to let somebody edit the document directly, meaning I could get into this and delete things and rewrite it and change it. But you can also get into click on suggesting, meaning they can just make comments in the margins and all their comments will show up here on the right-hand side of the screen in little bubbles next to wherever they, you know, like line 3, they wanted that, you know, to make a comment. You can also just choose to have somebody view it and they can't say anything about it at all. So it's a lot less destructive than, let's say, Word, sharing a blank Word document or other word processing document.
Okay, I didn't even know that Google Docs existed.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's something that you can use from your iPad or from your phone or from anywhere in the world. If you're on a trip and you suddenly say, you know, I need to come up with whatever, a resume or an article, you got, you know, asked by the Albuquerque Journal to write a little blurb about your visit to Spain or to wherever. You could come up with a public computer, sign in, write it from here and send it.
If somebody send you an attachment with Word, can Google Docs open it?
Yes, Google Docs can open it. And if you want to open a file, let's say somebody sent that to you and you downloaded it to your computer, you can get in here and Let's see. These are all of your templates, just so you know, of things that you can create. You can obviously come up with blank and resumes, letters, any of those sorts of things. So from here, you usually have to upload whatever document somebody sent you to your Google Drive. That's your first way. And then from Google Drive, you can then move it to Google Docs. Or from Google Docs, you can open it if it's already in your Google Drive. Does that make sense? You cannot upload it directly into Google Docs, but Google Docs can view a Microsoft Word document.
And that goes for an Excel spreadsheet too?
Yes, it does. So what you're going to see here, there is a version of like Excel that is included. That's going to be the next thing here with your Google Suite. So we had Google Docs, you have Google Sheets. That is sort of like their free version of Excel. So any of these are different spreadsheets. Did you have a question, Nancy? I saw you raise your hand. Oh, okay. So this is your spreadsheets. And obviously they give you, again, different templates that you can come up with for easy use. But if I get into any of these, let's see, that's probably a bad one because, okay. So this was something that I was a part of, and it doesn't come up like your typical spreadsheet, but this is something that was just formatted, but you get the idea that you can use spreadsheets. These were all Excel spreadsheets that somebody uploaded to Google Drive, and then you can open them in your Google Sheets. So pretty useful overall, because if somebody sends you something like that, you can have access to it and share it. And if I said, okay, I want to share any of these spreadsheets, let's say it's a business or your friends or whatever, somebody you're collaborating with, it's a group of people. Top right of your screen works the same for Google Docs or anything else. This top right of your screen, you can hit share. And then it says add people and groups. And so I can email this link to whoever I choose to see this, and then they can view it, edit it, or make comments on it. So any other questions to do with Google Sheets or what you can do with it? I mean, it's a pretty full service spreadsheet program, sort of like Excel. So it works the same way. You can tally numbers, add things up, create budgets, or what have you. So we've gone over Google Docs. So the last thing we're going to talk about is if you want to work with this program offline. So you say, well, gee, I'm flying somewhere, but I still want to access my Google Drive. I want to see my documents, or I'm writing a book, or what have you. You will need to download the apps. So Google has apps. They're all free. You can download them to your iPad, your iPhone, Android, and I believe Windows as well. And the other way you can access it on a Mac or a Windows computer is in your browser. So if you have Google Chrome, their browser downloaded to your computer, and that's what you're accessing this through, you can get an extension for Google Chrome that allows you to work with all of this offline. So, and unlike a computer where you can use all of this at once, as you've seen on a tablet, you can if you're getting into it through the internet. but you can also get separate apps for each thing. So you can get a separate app for Google Drive, one for Google Docs, Sheets, etc. So that is the end of our presentation. Any questions that people have?
I think you did a great job. You answered most of my questions.
Like I said, I hope I'm not overwhelming anybody here. I know there's a lot to go through. There's a lot of other things you can access through your Google Suite as well that aren't just like productivity tools, that are a lot more fun kind of things. Like you have access to your Play Store and obviously your Google News, which gives you the headlines and whatever. Apple has a similar setup, as do many other. Microsoft, I believe, has one as well. But you also have access to Duo, which is sort of like their version of a FaceTime, if any of you are familiar with FaceTime. I mentioned earlier you have access to Blogger, which is a website, very basic website creation tool. And you have fun things like Google Earth. So as many of you may be familiar, Google Earth is one of those things like, I'll click on it. It gives you screenshots or real-time images of just about anywhere on the planet. So you can actually see like your own home sometimes, where you live or where you used to live, or, you know, all sorts of different areas of the world, depending on what you want to see. You
Did you
can
say that
search
in-
for a particular place.
Did you say that's in real time? So it's not a photo of how it was 2 years ago?
Some of them are photos of what it was 2 years ago. See how it zooms in? Because I chose Seattle, Washington, and that's my hometown, so it zooms into that. Some of them are what it was 2 years ago, and some of them are real time. It depends on where their satellites are at that moment. So they're constantly reshooting pictures for Google Earth all the time.
Okay.
So, and if you want to look for a particular town or a particular address, all you need to do is click that spyglass on the top of your screen. And you can type in anywhere in the world. So, and then it comes up with lots of other things. You can explore different areas. If you click I'm feeling lucky, they'll just click on it and it will send you wherever. It's kind of a roll of the dice. They just come up with something random. You can create a map, you know, here of seeing different things. You can measure distances, like you're taking a trip there and you want to see what is the exact distance between Seattle and Bellevue. It will come up with it. Those kind of things. So, any other questions to do with any of these kind of things?
Just will this session be available, recorded and available at a later time?
Yes, we are recording it, and I will need to see when that will be available, but it should be, yes.
So we can look at it again.
Mhm.
Okay.
Also, we will be able to look at this class again?
Let me see, where we are in the process of recording it right now, and I do not know when it will be available for everybody to view, but hopefully, yes.
Is that for other classes that you've had? Or is it just because this one's been recorded for someone else?
This is a new thing that we're doing because we're partnering with the Southwest Family Guidance Center, as Trish mentioned earlier, and a few other different outfits. So I'll have to see when and how the recordings will be available. So,
I remember.
but I can email any of you who would be interested when they are.
Yeah, I remember on a previous session, I had received a notice that the session would be available to review again. So I think it's a practice that has been done in the past.
Yeah,
it's
I'd be interested in that.
Okay. Well, let's see what we can come up with. Hopefully that will be available for everybody. So
I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Like, I have MSN
Hmm.
where I get my email in MSN. How would I upload that to my Gmail account so I can open it? Or do I just have to forward it?
You'd have to forward it to your Gmail account. You can't really upload it. You would have to point like your MSN account to your Gmail. Does that make sense? You can get into it and actually forward your entire MSN account to your Gmail or vice versa.
where I could open up all my MSN account and Hotmail account in that Gmail account?
Yes, where all of the emails that you get from your MSN account, you could see in your Gmail account, ideally. So,
You do that? Is that what you said?
yeah. Hmm. Nancy, you had a question?
So then next Friday is all about Gmail, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I covered quite a bit of it today, but that will go
Oh,
into it
yeah.
even more in depth. So,
Oh, it was all good. I can only handle so much, but it was great. I learned some stuff.
I
So
hope
that's-
so.
So then some of these questions I'm asking, you could cover them more in depth in that Gmail class then.
Yeah, more than likely, that's what we're going to go over. So,
Great, great. I'm sorry to cut you off, Nancy. I just got
Oh, no
upset.
problem. I didn't know, is this supposed to just been a boy class?
we ended up opening it up to everybody. So
I didn't know that.
you're
Okay,
fine.
well, I learned something every time because like I said, I don't even know some of the basics. And then I know my daughter says, Mom, you know some of these advanced things and you don't know the basics. And it's like, but I'm getting it better. Thank you.
Of course.
I have
So
a question. My cousin he lives in Phoenix. He can use help like this. Can he join in on our sessions, or is this just?
no, he's more than welcome to join in. All he needs to do is just sign up for our newsletter and he can see what classes we're teaching and then when, and he's welcome to join in. We've also been offering coaching across the country at this point virtually. So,
Okay, good.
Nice.
I'll tell him.
okay. So, well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been wonderful seeing all of you guys and having you here and some really great questions. So, thank you for that.
Well, thank you for doing what you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Stay well, everyone. See you later.
Okay, thank
You
you.
too.
I
Bye-bye.
enjoyed it. It was real informative.